Hi. In this slide, I'd like to we're going to stop talking about the switch books metaphors and review some of the tools that were covered in the playlist 5 on the 6 boundary systems, and then introduce a new tool called ideation, ideation. Um, so let's get on with it here. In module 5 or playlist 5, we talked about signing up everyone to be responsible to play the great game of business. If we can figure out how to grow the business in a four-way win basis, basically all stakeholders love us and they all want a part of us. We're the fast train. Everybody wants to be in the fast train. So we attract and keep the best, most energized talent there is, and that allows us to continue to create and innovate and move forward. So it becomes sort of a perpetual, sustainable story. We find that if we look at core renewal strategy that comes out of line item profit analytics, we have the upside of maybe doubling the sales and quadrupling the profits with only half the active customers we currently have by getting much bigger, deeper share of customers on a partnership basis and tuning the buy-sell relationships so that they become much more win-win for both sides. And of course, that's why the customer wants to marry us as opposed to just, doing reverse auctions with us. However, we're not going to get better, as a company if at the individual level people aren't changing themselves. And so when it comes to who am I and why should I change and what should I change first, and I'm not any good at change anyway, I'm just in my own little rut, how do we start to get personal confidence that we can actually be a self-learning, growing kind of creature? So how do we get personal improvement momentum going? And it turns out that health is the first wealth. And there's not an employee you have that wouldn't say, yeah, I guess my health is probably pretty important. And if you can help me help myself, and I'm not going to fight that. And that's why I went into what I called the Wellness Energy Platform, where we keep it very simple. We start a very simple program where we just focus on healthy hydration and taking more steps each day. On top of that, if people want to say, I want to lose 5 pounds, or I want to quit smoking, or I want to cut out, all the sugar in my diet, or, go on a white diet, no high glycemic white flour, white rice, or sugar. These are all wonderful things, but we're not going to top down dictate this because it's too scary for the elephant in a sense. But if we can get everybody moving and saying, hey, this feels good, I like it, then we could say, well, by the way, besides getting, well in a health version, how do we get well at our job? So what you're doing right now on a scale from 1 to 10, are you a 10? Are you a black belt, 10th degree, person at what you're doing? Well, I never thought of that. I just kind of show up and do what I'm told. And, as long as, nobody's, bugging me, I assume I'm doing good enough. And so we're settling for mass mediocrity. So how do we define 10s for every job? And then how do we use a tool I call the monthly mastery reports, which was covered in the last module, section 5, playlist 5. Then there's the learn and earn cross training game. So in some departments, we don't just learn what we're doing, we learn the steps up and down the service process we're involved. So when people are sick or on vacation, we can hop in and do that job with full speed, full confidence, and not make mistakes. Or if there's a big surge, everybody downstream and upstream can jump on the surge and ride it through the process, which was covered in Module 5. The 6 systems are sort of a larger scale set of tools that I covered in Section 5. Also in Section 5 was the Wheel of Learning. It's got 4 stations. We ask proactive questions. We come up with theories, number 2. Number 3 is we design smart experiments. Number 4 is we reflect on the experiments and we learn, and that raises new questions. So we go around that wheel, and as a spin-off of it, we start doing smart experiments and good mistakes. And so we deep dove into that. So those are definitely change management tools. Now, what happens when we open up a new way of doing business. Think you're Toyota and you're making cars in 1952, and you're trying to mass produce them like Detroit. The only problem is your market's so small and you make so many different cars. You don't need to make thousands of the same car, the same color. You need to make 5 of them, and then you need to switch over. But the switchover costs are very high. So how do you lower your switchover costs? And that started to become the rabbit hole that led to just-in-time manufacturing, not only within the plant from 1950 to 62, but from the whole supply chain from 62 to 72. So the whole just-in-time Kanban manufacturing process sort of changed the whole landscape for manufacturing worldwide. And Henry Ford's, you can have a Model T any color you want as long as it's black, thing disappeared. And the Japanese started killing everybody, until we figured out what they were doing and duplicated and so forth. But when they went into that new paradigm of saying, well, we have to rechange and rethink everything in the plant to go to just-in-time manufacturing. Instead of having people waiting on the big machines, we have lots of little machines waiting on the people in a cell. Well, that creates all kinds of incremental, questions like, well, okay, good idea, and we see it's generally making big sense. What do we do about 62,000 things? Well, that created a monster bottom-up idea mill. And over 20 years, they came with over 20 million ideas that they came up with to basically make the new paradigm of just-in-time manufacturing work. So all the ideas you're going to come up with net profit analytics are going to be a lot. So you need to maybe even think of having a formal ideation, system, if you will. Later on in the culture section, the next playlist, we'll look at the kinetic chain as a checklist alignment tool for making any change program work. Really, if you think about it, it's sort of all right, we want to reshape the path. We can't reshape the path unless we make sure that every step in the kinetic chain has been rethought and internally consistent with one another, and then it becomes the new path in a sense. And the one last tool is the idea of praising statements and praising quotas and put them in a good news bulletin so everybody realizes that more and more people have their oar in the water and they're starting to make progress and this boat's moving and everybody can make a difference and everybody gets involved in growing a new, better business. So those are some other tools that we've seen in the past, and now let's jump into ideation. Thank you.